All right. Good evening, everyone. It's about almost 7:30 on Thursday evening, so I thought I would give everyone a update on what we can expect tomorrow. As I'm sure you've heard, there is some possibilities of severe thunderstorms in our area, so I wanted to talk to you about that and hopefully allay a little bit of fear about it. But there are definitely possibilities, so let's just get right into it. All right, so this is the latest model. I shouldn't say model. This is actually the Storm Prediction Center forecast, day 2 forecast. So, of course, day 2 to them is tomorrow. Now, this is more of a broad type look at it. And so, as you can see, the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex is well within the slight risk of severe thunderstorms. And so, it's something that we definitely want to be on the lookout. And there's going to be a lot of it's really kind of a complex situation. That's why I wanted to come on and talk about it, because it's not really your classic severe weather scenario, but it's going to be enough to be concerned about. So what we're talking about here is we have a couple things in play. We have a dry line that will be out in West Texas that will head our way during the day. Most likely will approach North Texas in the afternoon hours. But before that, really maybe starting around 9 a.m., we could have some thunderstorm development in central Texas with the weather disturbance that's moving up from that way. And so that's where you may start to see some of our weather earlier than we think, at least what traditionally we would see in this type setup. So that's something we want to watch out for. So, it's one of those things that we want to keep an eye on probably earlier during the day than we normally would. So that's why I wanted to come on this evening to talk about that. Okay, so let's get into the specifics. So as I said, the Storm Prediction Center is predicting a slight risk of severe thunderstorms. So that's level 2 out of 5. So, it's not the lowest, but it's certainly not the highest. So not to get terribly concerned about. And again, I always like to say this, that is the definition of that is the chances of you seeing severe weather at your house within 25 miles of your house, or any point really. So that's what a slight chance means. In this case, we'll get into the specifics. All right, so this is the tornado threat, and unfortunately, with this type weather setup, we will have all modes of severe weather possible. Tornadoes, hail, and wind. So let's take them one step at a time. So this is the latest tornado forecast for North Texas. And, unfortunately, we don't like to see any percentages for tornadoes, but we do see some. And now, while 2% is not great, that's not too bad. We typically can handle that, quote unquote. But then you get into we see some 5% areas on the map. And let me scroll down here a little bit. Now, again, it's within 25 miles of a point that you would see a tornado. So obviously not very big. And hey, Leslie, I saw your comment. Let's see. Let me interrupt. You're in Beaver Bend, or your friend's going to Beaver's Bend. Okay, so Oklahoma. So yeah, that's they're definitely have a chance to see it. Rick, I know you're going to catch it on tape delay. So yeah, I appreciate that. All right, so here is the tornado threat. So Dallas Fort Worth, and I think I can put the cities overlay on here. Yeah. So you can see Dallas proper is just outside that 5%. Now, again, these are somewhat arbitrary lines. They draw them the best they can. So just because Dallas technically is not in the 5% tornado threat, it doesn't mean that, we're not out of the woods by any means. We're definitely in the 2%. So what they're thinking is, let me take these cities off because it gets a little crowded there. Okay, so what the Storm Prediction Center is thinking is that there's really 2 severe weather scenarios popping up. Hey, Angela, I got things to do tomorrow. Save it for Saturday. Sorry, we can't do that. But anyway, so what we're thinking is going to happen is that there's going to be a tornado threat with these cells. I'm going to show you a model here in a second. That these cells that may pop up in central Texas and move northeast. Right now, most of them would be southeast of Dallas-Fort Worth, but we got to watch that real close. But that's what they're thinking. That's why you see the 5% a little bit southeast of Dallas-Fort Worth. Now the other 5% you see northwest of Dallas-Fort Worth. That, again, that's maybe along the dry line and cold front later in the day. So they're thinking there's a more enhanced threat of tornadoes with that activity, which will be later in the day, well after noon. But you see a greater tornado threat there. So that's kind of what they're thinking right now. Now I can promise you, they're going to update this forecast in the morning, and I'll definitely be on top of that. But it will probably change. I would be shocked if it didn't change. All right, so let's look at the damaging wind potential. And excuse me, similar to what you see with tornadoes, as far as general ice enhanced areas, you see the 15% area northwest of Dallas Fort Worth. And again, we'll put the city overlay on here real quick just to give you an idea. So, it's kind of funny. Dallas Fort Worth is between the two. Again, doesn't mean that we wouldn't have a damaging wind threat, which of course, like I said, is I've always tried to remind everybody it's 58 miles per hour or higher wind gust. So that's what they're forecasting there. And it just refreshed. So let me do this. Let's go back to wind, and there we go. So again, same thing. These supercell thunderstorms that would possibly form in central Texas would be southeast of us. So that's why you see the 15% enhanced there. And then again, you see the 15% enhanced in Oklahoma. And that may be more of a squall line along the cold front. And that may be more of a damaging wind threat. So that's something we'll have to watch a little bit later today. All right. Well, the one that everybody likes to talk about, and rightfully so, is our hail threat. So again, this is a little different than their day one forecast. On day one forecast, they get really specific on percentages. So they don't typically go, they can, as you can see in the legend, but they typically don't go beyond 15% in day two, unless they just really think it's going to be bad. However, you do see the hatched area, and again, that means that's a significant chance of seeing hail, and that's defined as seeing hail larger, 2 inches or larger in diameter. And that's a pretty broad, swath of land. So again, that's not terribly atypical for a 2-day forecast because they're trying to narrow it down the best they can, but right now that's what they think. Obviously, Dallas-Fort Worth, if we put the city overlay on there, is well within the hatched area. Now, again, it doesn't mean it's going to hail, but it definitely has a greater than probability of hailing than it would on any other day. Okay, so with that, let's look at 2 models that I like to look at when we talk about convection. And so the first one is the HRR model, or the HRRR model, as we like to say. And I'm going to fast forward it to tomorrow at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So let me get over there real quick here. And whoops. That's actually, there we go. Okay, well, that's actually noon. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so that's again, this is a forecast model. So this is what they're forecasting tomorrow right now. Now, this model was actually initialized earlier today, so they'll have an updated one here shortly, but this is the latest one they have. So this is noon, and now again, you can start to see that they think that those cell developments will be in southwest of us in central Texas. So if we go frame by frame, or hour by hour, I should say, then you can see what the HRRR is thinking is that you'll see these thunderstorms develop, move our way. Obviously, Dallas-Fort Worth there. Hopefully, you can pick that out. And then they'll move on into East Texas, Southeast Texas. So that's where you remember on the Storm Prediction Center's map, that's where you see that enhanced risk of severe weather, not enhanced risk in a categorical sense, but in a wind sense. So you see that. So if you just push this on out, you'll see the cold front up in Oklahoma, and you see a line that the HRRR anyway says it's going to actually stay in Oklahoma. So, with this model, they're not really predicting a whole lot. So, that might be good. Okay, so if we go to the NAM, which stands for North American model, and let me go back to the same spot, and let's see here. That's 10. Whoops. And one more. There we go. Well, there we go. Okay. So, again, around noon, 1-ish in the afternoon, again, you kind of see a theme here. They're thinking that these thunderstorms are going to form earlier in the day and south of us, southwest of us, and kind of move really right now just southeast of Dallas-Fort Worth. So if you go hour by hour here, again, you can see a pretty good cluster of storms, very close to Dallas-Fort Worth. Now, again, these are models. These are radar predictions, if you will. So obviously it's going to be a little different. But you see most of the bad weather southeast of Dallas-Fort Worth, and you see a couple supercells, or at least what they think supercells, just southeast of Dallas County. And then it moves on into East Texas, and obviously they have a lot of, if this model were to pan out, they have a lot of trouble in East Texas. So we shall see. And then, of course, as you move on, the next concern would be the cold front dry line. And you can see what they're predicting. Again, you see that squall line in Oklahoma. And again, this one dips into Texas. But again, according to the NAM, it wouldn't really get that close to Dallas Fort Worth. Now I have my doubts about whether it would be to stay that far away. So that's what the model, well, at least what two of the more reliable severe weather models are predicting. Models are good and models can be bad. So, all right. So, what can we expect for tomorrow? So, I think the National Weather Service did a good job of putting this out as far as what they think right now is timing wise. So again, you can see in the upper left corner, 9 a.m. to noon. They definitely have it, at least thinking there's going to be a chance for some storm development. And you see that their little black hatched area, that's the most, the geographic area they think that would be the most likely so far. Then you move over to the upper right, that's noon to 6 p.m. The whole area is within a severe weather potential. Large hail, damaging winds, a few tornadoes. They're thinking tornadoes right now would be southeast of Dallas Fort Worth, but again, we're close enough to where you just can't count on that and say, oh, we don't have anything to worry about. And then bottom left, 6 to midnight, most of the bad weather would be east of us, and then of course after midnight, northeast Texas. So that's kind of their timing right now. I think when we wake up in the morning, this will be different as well. So that's something that we'll have to keep an eye on. Of course, obviously, I'll keep an eye on it. So I think the bottom line is this, is that this is not a classic severe weather situation in the sense that, you have a dry line. If you remember a couple of Fridays ago, we had the severe weather supercell type situation where we had individual supercells and, they went just south of us basically. It's not that type of situation. We'll probably have that on Tuesday. We'll obviously talk about that when we get a little closer to that. But it's really more of a messy type scenario to where actually if we get quite a bit of rain between now and or it's starting in the morning before the dry line cold front gets through, that would definitely tamp down the severe weather threat for North Texas, which wouldn't be a bad thing. But those supercell thunderstorms, if they were to form southwest of us, would be something we'd have to watch out for, because they would definitely have the ability to produce severe weather, and quite frankly, severe weather that, everything from large hail to tornadoes. That's definitely something we want to watch. So I think when we wake up in the morning, I'll definitely look at it and see what's going on as far as definitely give an update. It'll probably be a typical written update in the morning, but, depends on what's going on. But definitely update on everybody what the current thinking is at that time. But I just wanted to come on today or this evening just to kind of give you a little preview about, just have that in the back of your mind. Be prepared tomorrow for the possibility of severe weather. It's just that time of year, and it's funny because we've had this relatively cool weather the last couple of days, and so it's we don't think about it being tornado weather, but this warm front, as you can see on this graphic, is going to move through tomorrow. It's going to be a lot more warm and humid than it has been the last couple of days. So if you're enjoying this weather, get out on your porch tonight, because it'll be a lot more humid going forward. So actually, it'll dry off a little bit when this cold front comes through, but then next week we'll get more into spring, I promise you. Okay, so before I sign off, I just want to look at the comments here and make sure I didn't miss anything. I know I addressed Leslie Williams' comment earlier, and Rick's and Angela. So Doris is watching. Thank you, Doris. I appreciate that. Misty, I'm not excited. Yes, you are never excited about this, and I don't blame you. And so Misty's a good friend of mine. Went to high school with her. She lives in southeast of Dallas Fort Worth, and sadly, y'all have a better chance of seeing the really rough stuff. So I'll keep you updated, Misty. Just be careful, because it may be a little rougher where you are. So. All right, Angela, I'm skeptical. Well, you know what? You actually should be, because like I said, this is not a classic situation in the sense that, it's we have this dry line bulge, as they say, and, we're going to have all these, storms, pop on it. And as we've gone through before, I don't think it's going to be like that at all, quite frankly. I think it's going to be a messy situation. So right now, the best take I have on it is that we might get good old fashioned, I say general, but, good old fashioned thunderstorms. And so that may dampen the atmosphere, kind of stabilize, if you will, the atmosphere tomorrow early. And if that happens, if you remember, you looked at some of those, the H, really both models, the HRRR and the NAM, they're not real big on either scenario, really. I mean, if you remember, most of the storms they think will be southeast of Dallas Fort Worth, and then they didn't really give us anything along the cold front. So, you know, yeah, you have a right to be skeptical, and I'm skeptical myself. So that's why I want to come on and kind of give you the possibilities. Misty, you'll be in it. I'll be in my whole outback, I promise. Yeah, hopefully you won't really have to, but definitely make sure you have a way to get there quick, Misty, because unfortunately you may have to. But again, you know, if you go by what Angela was saying, yeah, you may not have to worry about it either. Christy, good to see you, Christy. Yeah, you gotta love Texas weather and her ever-changing moods. Yes, yeah, because if you think about that, you know, what was it, 2 mornings ago? We had almost a freeze. We had a frost, you know, in late April, and now we're back to our traditional tornado weather. Like I said, so right now it doesn't feel bad outside at all, but when the warm front moves through tomorrow, it'll definitely change. That's for sure. So, okay, well that's about it. I don't see any other comments in the chat, although I know there's a little bit of a delay, so I know that's kind of tough. So I'll try to catch the comments afterwards. So I appreciate everyone watching. I just like to keep everybody informed and educated on what to expect. Tomorrow is a Friday, and we all have the things that we have to do. So there is no reason to alter your schedule in any meaningful way. I think the best thing to keep in mind is if you do have outdoor activities tomorrow, especially in the late afternoon, early evening, then I would definitely keep an eye on the weather. But like I said, like Angela said, I think that, I think there's reason to be skeptical because I think there's a lot of factors here that could really throw a wrench in a lot of bad weather, which I don't think anybody's going to complain about. It's just that, it's you don't want to get too hyped up about something and overhype something, and then when nothing happens, then of course when the real thing comes, then people aren't going to take you seriously, and so we definitely don't want that. So, but like I said, so there's definitely a chance, not a classic setup, but there is a chance nonetheless, and so I'll be watching it all day tomorrow. That's for sure. Well, of course, I'm watching the weather, so you don't have to. I appreciate everyone watching, and I will be talking to you tomorrow, either saying, hey, batten down the hatches, or hey, we're in the clear. So I have a feeling it's going to be one or the other. So hope everyone has a great evening. I appreciate everyone watching, and we will talk to you soon.